Do you guys know that Mario Kart Wii is my favorite Mario Kart game? Okay, well, now you know. Anyways, I've been playing a lot of Retro Rewind. It's a great mod for multiple reasons. It lets you play most of the tracks from both previous and future Mario Kart games, and it has 200 and 500cc, and that's what we're here to talk about. I figured that I should rank each of the vehicles in the game based on their performance, since I've been playing this instead of working on Skylanders videos. One might think that the tier list for these would be the exact same as 150cc, but there's two things that change up the formula. First is karts now have access to purple mini turbos, which are harder to pull off but have a pretty good reward. And the second is that every vehicle now has access to inside drift. Well, every vehicle also has access to outside drift, but only villains do that. Like seriously, what is wrong with you? So let's just dive into the 500cc tier list first, because it's literally just Quacker, S tier. Everything else, F tier. Alright, I'm being slightly hyperbolic here, but really, Quacker is the best vehicle for this mode because it has the highest acceleration, handling, and drift stats in the game. Like, yeah, the Bit Bike and the Sugar Scoot would probably also be good, but they're not as good as the Quacker, and I always just use the Quacker. The only reason I even put in 500cc tier list is because I just wanted to keep saying Quacker. Alright, now on to the main event, the 200cc tier list. Starting with F tier, bottom of the barrel, absolutely unusable, is the Piranha Prowler, Blue Falcon, Sprinter, and Jet Setter. All of these vehicles have the exact same problem, which is terrible drift and handling. Well, I mean, honestly, horrible stats in general that isn't speed and weight. Like, Blue Falcon and Piranha Prowler have decent drift, but they still can't turn. Inside drift cannot save these vehicles, and neither can automatic transmission. Don't use these vehicles unless you're doing a challenge or are literally insane. E tier is for literally every other kart that isn't the big three. Remember how I just said that inside drift can't save the F tier vehicles? Well, it can't save any of the karts. For whatever reason, bikes still just turn tighter than karts. That, combined with no wheelies and how hard it actually is to get a purple mini turbo, means that karts still can't compete with bikes. There's a couple of tracks that are definitely kart-centric, but those are few and far between, so for the most part, I'd say just pick a bike. T tier is for the best 3 karts in the game and the worst 3 bikes in the game. Yes, I value bike drifting that much. The Spear, Phantom, and Sneakster all have the same problem that the F tier vehicles have, just to a less severe extent. High speed with horrible drift is not a good combination for 200cc. The 3 karts have high speed and good drift, but it's kart drift, so you can definitely win a race with these, but your thumb will probably be hurting with how much you're going to be brake drifting. C tier is for the standard bikes. And Wario. I was actually half tempted to put the Wario bike in D tier thanks to its low speed and drift, but its high acceleration and mini turbo means that you can actually get back up to full speed fairly quickly if you hit a wall or an item. The standard bikes all share the same problem, which is generally average stats, and average stats just isn't good enough. They're all kind of interchangeable, it just depends on if you like the higher acceleration of the small bike or the higher speed and weight of the larger bikes. They're definitely usable, and you probably won't cripple yourself, but it's nowhere near the best. B tier is for all the vehicles that have really good acceleration, and that's about it. I also threw in the Jet Bubble. Its stats are all average overall, but the highest ones are in speed and drift, which is all that's really important, for being honest. The Bit Bike and Sugar Scoot have bad speed and okay drift with really good acceleration. The Zip Zip has worse drift and acceleration, but better speed. And the Quacker has the best stats out of all of these, but has the lowest weight in the game, which was even worse on 200cc when everyone was going so much faster. These are pretty solid picks, especially on winding tracks where the low speed might actually help you out. A tier is for the vehicles that were almost the best but have 1 or 2 flaws that hold them back, starting with the Dolphin Dasher. It has great speed and off-road, decent mini turbo and weight, and poor drift, which is its biggest problem. The high off-road is actually way more useful than you think, since it allows you to take a number of shortcuts shroomless. But again, this is very track dependent. Same reason the Magic Cruiser is here. I like it slightly more because it has better drift and acceleration, and the off-road is way better, but it has slightly worse speed, which is unfortunate. Next up is the Shooting Star, the #1 vehicle fucked over by outside drift in the OG game. It's basically the Flame Runner with worse speed, but better drift and mini turbo, which is obviously better in certain scenarios. But I still think the Flame Runner is slightly better on more tracks, but the biggest issue with the Flame Runner is that it doesn't have the best drift in the game. It's really good, but the S tier vehicles have the best drift, which is the most important stat. Speaking of, it's time for the S tier, which is pretty obvious. It's the Bullet and the Mach Bike. They have the best drift in the game along with really high speed. The Bullet Bike specifically having the highest drift in the game, along with having an insanely good mini turbo stat. Its biggest problem is that it's a lightweight, so it still gets bullied badly by the other vehicles on the track. But yeah, the Mach Bike is the best for 200cc. It's already the second best vehicle in 150cc, but the extra drift of the Flame Runner really makes a huge difference. Honestly, it's funny that the top 3 vehicles in 200cc are the same for 150cc, although you may be able to convince me that Shooting Star is S. But that's my list. Play Retro Rewind. It's really fun. Like and subscribe and all that junk. Next video might be Skylanders. I don't know yet. Okay, thanks, bye!